Welcome to the Sexy Sunday School podcast where we talk about everything sexy and everything spiritual. I am your host, Miss Nicole Brooke, and I want to personally thank you for tuning in today, and I want to say happy Father's Day to all of the daddies out there. It's interesting because my most recent episode was on Mother's Day where I sang the praises of the two powerful women who raised me, my mom and my grandmother. And today on Father's Day, I'm not going to sing the praises of the biological father who was never there for me during my entire childhood, but instead I am going to tell you how I healed from my daddy issues through the love of God, through deep inner work, and through changing the narrative about how I saw my childhood without a father. I'm also going to give you some tips on how to re-father yourself, so get comfortable or go take a walk. Let's get started. Happy Sunday. So let me start by just giving you a little bit of background about my childhood. Throughout all of my social media and throughout all of my writings, I will tell you about how proud I am to have grown up in a divine feminine trinity, just me, my mom, and my grandma. But I will rarely talk about my father, and I'm sure a lot of y'all are curious. So let me tell you the long story short. My mom got pregnant at 41 years old when she was working in California. She met a man who was recently divorced, had 2 children, 2 daughters before that. And when he found out that my mom was pregnant, he told her to get an abortion. But my mom always wanted a child. And so she said, screw you, I'm gonna have her on my own, and I don't want you to have anything to do with her. And that was actually the most empowered and best decision that she ever made for herself and for my life. And so I grew up without a father. My mom didn't feel comfortable talking about him, so I never knew his name. I never saw a photo, and he was never ever really part of the conversation. But being the starseed child I am, the curious little girl I was always wanting to know, where did I come from? I know that I'm from Greece on my mom's side, but I was really curious, like, what country did I come from? Where does my genetic and spiritual lineage come from? But, I just kind of let that curiosity fade because my mom didn't want to talk about him, and that was okay. And so on Father's Day, I would give my mom flowers and give her a big thank you for being both my mom and my dad. And I was happy because I didn't know any different. And to be honest, when I was at my friend's house and I was around their dads, I kind of felt uncomfortable. I didn't really feel the need to have a dad. But that need for a child to have that masculine energy in their life did not go unnoticed. And it turned into me being absolutely boy crazy. I had boyfriends since the time that I realized that boys and girls were different. I had my first enormous crush in first grade. I think I may have had my first kiss when I was like 5 years old. And I was always seeking that male attention. And deep down, it was because I was seeking my father. I remember driving in the car with my mom and literally looking at the window at every car that passed me, with every man that passed me, and I asked myself, is that my dad? Could that be him? Is that my father right there? Could it be him? And maybe it's because I grew up in American society with all of these ideas of a happily ever after, I was imagining this happily ever after where I found my dad and we were reunited. But that wasn't going to happen for quite some time. And, I was okay with that. I accepted it. I was proud and happy to just have my mom. But when it came to my teenage years, that's when I started getting angry. I'm like, how does this man not care that he has his blood out there in the world and not give a damn to know who I am? And so I had this narrative in my head around, my dad abandoned me. He abandoned me. And so how did that express itself, that story, that self-sabotaging story come out? Well, it came out in men abandoning me in all the relationships. In all of my early relationships from elementary school to middle school to high school, it normally was me having my heart broken, me being abandoned. And because I was always searching for that man and romanticizing it, I would fall head over heels in love with all of these boys and get my heart broken time after time after time, again and again and again. And that would continue until probably my late 20s. And so I had this, I don't want to say addiction, but a real need to be loved by men and a real need to have this masculine figure in my life. My mom never dated. I never saw my mom with a man ever until I saw some of her pictures of her in a younger version with a man that she was in a 7 year relationship with. And I saw her kiss a man for the first time in a photo only. But I never had any male figures in my life. But I did have a little bit of a grandpa figure and a couple of different men, and I did have a godfather. But as soon as he then adopted his own children, he was out of the picture too. So that was yet another story of these men were abandoning me. And so it was when I was around 19, after my grandmother died, where I had this real urge to know who the hell is my dad. Mind you, I had never seen a picture of him. I had never even known his name. But when my grandmother left this earth, it left a gaping hole in the arena of family in my life. And so I looked up my birth certificate. I remember being in the hallway looking in the safety deposit box, and I'm looking around, and my mom is like, "Nicole, what are you doing?" And I said, "I'm looking for my birth certificate. I need to know the name of my father." And so I found it. And it was probably one of the weirdest names that I had ever known. And that was actually going to be a key piece in me finding my father. And so I had started to look him up on the internet without any success. And it wasn't until months and months and months later, where I was back on my college campus in Pennsylvania, where I was determined. I was determined to find who he was. And so on that night, I typed in his name. I typed in California real estate because I knew that that's how he and my mom had met. And lo and behold, I find a website. And so I go to his About Me section and I see that he had two daughters. And my mom had told me when I was a younger girl that I had two half sisters, which irked me even more because being an only child, I always wanted to have other girlfriends, other sisters to play with, but it just wasn't in the cards. And so I find the girls. I found that he also had like an adopted son, which I had no clue about. And so I had this inkling, I had this feeling that this could be him, this could be my dad. And so I had to send my mom a photo, call her up and be like, "Hey mom, so I think I found my dad, but I'm gonna need you to confirm and clarify for me if this is really him." And she's like, "Okay, I'll open up my email and I'll give you a call back." And so it literally felt like it took forever for her to give me that call back, but she called me back and she was like, "Yep, that's him. That's your father." And I was like, "Oh shit. Like, this is weird. I have a father? Like, what?" That was a Thursday evening, and it took me until Sunday to really process the information that I had just found. I am now a woman who is not fatherless anymore, but I have all the information about who this man is. And I was like, okay, what are my next steps? Do I want to contact him? And of course I did. And so, me being the psychology major I was, I started typing up an email and I said, "Hi, I'm Nicole. I go to Lehigh University. I'm studying education and psychology and Spanish. But originally I'm from Las Vegas, but I was actually born in California. My mom's name is Lynn Schwartz, and I think you're my father." And I attached a photo as well because I was thinking, well, if he sees me, then he could see himself in me and it will make him want to reply. And Not even 24 hours passed by, and he responded. But that wasn't the best part. That wasn't the best part. He said yes, he wanted to have a relationship with me. It was nice to hear from me. And he attached a picture of his mother, who literally looks identical to me. She and I have so many things in common. She was also a dancer. And so, one of the reasons why I was called to be a dancer in this lifetime is because it already ran in my blood. She worked on movie sets. She had her own like performing arts center. She had her own bar where she had live performances where she danced. She was super tiny like me. We had the same face. She was 100% Finnish from Finland. And I think that was one of the greatest gifts that my father could give me in that moment was pure confirmation of like, yes, you are me, we are family. And so I was elated. I was excited about this new journey. It wasn't until later when I was living in Spain and I was asking my father for some help with getting some citizenship stuff going on. And I'm like, well, my grandmother's from Finland. I should be able to get um, like European citizenship. And I was like, Dad, where was my grandmother from? Because unfortunately she passed away before I could ever meet her. And I was thinking he was gonna say some city in Finland, and he was like, "Oh, she was born in New Jersey." I was like, "What? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me from New Jersey?" So that's just a little funny side story. Um, but yeah, so that opened up a 10-year journey of me getting to know my father. And so a few months later, once I went back to Las Vegas for Christmas break, I met my dad for the first time in my life. And my mom had warned me, be careful. He's emotionally unavailable. He might not be nice. We're not really sure. Like, I was 20 years old at this time, so I was a young woman. And I was waiting there at BJ's restaurant in Summerlin, waiting for him to come. He showed up late. I was nervous as all get out. And I see this tall, handsome, older gentleman walk up. And I said, "Oh my God, that is my father." And although my mom said that he was emotionally unavailable, he actually hugged me and we sat down and he cried. And I was just kind of like, okay, okay, let's do this. So we go inside and we're talking, and this is actually the first time that I started to get some interesting vibes, like of narcissism. He was talking all about himself. I literally brought an album of my childhood photos to show him like how my childhood was. And he cared a little bit, but it didn't seem like he was very interested in getting to know me. So I already started seeing some red flags from the beginning. And it took him 6 months for him to be able to man up and tell his daughters that I exist and that he knew about me. So that was a very interesting set of circumstances to have to deal with at such a young age and getting to know my long lost father. Um, Long story short, I ended up realizing that this man was left out of my life for a reason, and that he really wasn't all that of a positive influence in my life. There were times where he was screaming at me in the car because I gave him some directions. There were times where he was inappropriately telling me about all of his sexcapades and sexual adventures with all of these women. And I'm like, dude, I don't even know you. I had a dream that he raped me at one point as well. So I was always very on guard. And when it came to my sisters, at first it was all hunky dory. They were very excited to have me in their life. They always felt like they were missing something. And so their feminine intuition was right that he had a long lost daughter out there that he was not fully taking responsibility for. He came up with these excuses of, oh no, I didn't know that you were actually born. And he used that later on in life as the last straw. And so I'll give you the long story short. At the end of these 10 years, I told my dad to go fly a kite, to leave my life, and to leave me alone. And I told this to my half sisters as well, because for 10 years, I was wasting all of my summers on going to Portland, Oregon to go feel belonging and love with this family when I was neglecting my mother. I could have been with my mother, spending time with her, the one person who birthed me, the one person who would be there for me this whole entire time. But instead, I was trying to fit in with a family that was never mine. And I do thank them for being there when my mom died, but it was like you guys had 10 years to get to know me and my mother, to come visit my mother, to say hello to her, to meet her for the first time, but you waited until she was on her deathbed. And my mom was almost dead when my father said something to me that ended my relationship permanently with him. I was laying with my mom. She was unconscious, and the nurse was asking everyone, do you want to say anything that will help Lynn pass on to the other side? She's still hanging on for some reason. She had almost died 5 times in my arms. And my father had the guts to say, you know, Lynn, I forgive you for hiding Nicole from me for all of these years. And oh my God, the fire that erupted inside of me was a sacred initiation. I told him, you know what? You knew that I existed. And if you had the balls to actually admit it, then I would be able to forgive you. But the fact that you keep on denying something that you know is true is ending it for me. Please leave. And I had to do that in front of my half dead mother for a reason, to reclaim my sense of I know who I am, I know who my mom is, and I will protect my mom over everything. So get out of my life. I get emotional just talking about this again because it's like the nerve. And you know what? I'm gonna tell all of you guys the proof of that my dad knew about me this whole entire time, because it relates to a fear of guns that I have had. So when my mom was pregnant, my dad was furious that my mom wasn't going to have an abortion, that she was going to have me. And he was a crazy gun guy. And he was threatening to use his gun while his two daughters were sleeping in that room. And so my mom called the police on him. The police showed up at the door, raided the house, got his guns, made sure that his daughters were safe in there. And he was completely taken aback by this. And so when he wanted his guns back, he called the police and said, "Hey, I want my guns back." And they're like, "Well, we actually need to call my mother to make sure that you weren't threatening her life," because he wanted to kill her, which was also wanting to kill me. And so they called my mom, but my mom was literally in labor giving birth to me. And so they actually spoke to my grandmother. And the police called him back and said, you know, this woman is giving birth to your child. Um, but the grandmother said that you're all clear. You can have your guns back, but just stay away. And that was how I actually had this fear of guns when I was in utero, which I'm literally working on right now. I just went to a gun class about how to shoot guns a few weeks ago, which was a huge step for me in overcoming this fear. But the police literally told him, "You have a daughter. She was birthed." And so all of this time, his excuse of, "Oh, I don't know if you were actually born," is bullshit. So, yes, he knew about me, but he did not take the responsibility of admitting that he abandoned my mother and that he abandoned me. But you know, this whole idea of him abandoning me was a framework that I lived by, a belief that I lived by, that continued this cycle of men abandoning me. And this is now where I want to get into how you can heal your daddy issues by reframing your circumstances. I took a course on Mind Valley's platform with Michael Beckwith calling Life Visioning Mastery. And it has you go through a healing process of forgiving your mother and forgiving your father. And so I had to do that deep inner work because I was ready to heal my daddy issues because I recognized the ways in which it was showing up in my relationships. I fantasized these relationships with men. I built castles up in the sky because I wanted my happily ever after. I wanted to find my father in all of these men, someone who would take care of me and protect me so that I don't have to keep on doing life alone. Because after my mom died, I was literally all on my own. My mom and my grandma both passed away. I'm alone in this world. And so subconsciously, I'm searching for a man to protect me and take care of me. But I have had to become my own father, my own protector. And so I had to reframe this idea of him abandoning me into something else. And so I realized I had this huge epiphany of he didn't abandon me. He didn't know me. He doesn't know who I am. He abandoned my mom. He abandoned her. But at the same time, I also had another epiphany. He didn't necessarily abandon her. She told him to go fly a kite. I'm sorry, but you don't deserve a place in my life or my daughter's life. And that was a way that I was able to give the power back to my mother and give the power back to myself of realizing he didn't abandon us. We told him to go away, to set a boundary and to protect ourselves from him. And so that changed the way that I saw relationships and how I related to men. No longer was it men abandoning me, but I then found myself saying, I'm sorry, but you're actually not good enough for me. I am going to jump ship on this relationship because it is not good enough for me. So if you are facing some kind of issue around your father, I want you to think about other ways that you can actually reframe it to give you your power back. Another way that I was able to heal my daddy issues was doing the deep inner work. There was a woman named Nat who I enrolled in her coaching program about love and sex addiction. I wasn't addicted to sex. I was highly sexual because I had a lot of sexual energy, but I probably was addicted to the feeling of love. And I centralized men so much that every time I found a man, I wanted to change my life path for him because I think that's a lot of the ways that society has trained us. You find a man, you take his last name, you go where he needs to go for work. And so I kept on doing that in all of my relationships. And I started to realize this is not the way that I want to live my life. And I think this is a way where women can realize that they have their own life path and it doesn't have to coincide with a man's. And so by doing the deep inner work with Michael Beckwith's program, with Nat's coaching program, I started to decentralize men and started to centralize myself as well. Because I swear, every single time that I went outside the door, I had to have my makeup perfect, I had to have my clothes perfect, and I was literally on the prowl every single time I walked outside. I would see a hot guy across the street behind a tree and tell all of my friends, "Oh my God, did you see that hot guy?" And they're like, "Where?" I'm like, "Over there." And they're like, "Nicole, how did you see him?" Because I was always searching for men. Because deep down, I'm always searching for my father. I was always searching for the one. And because I've been perpetually single and not in a solid relationship, I was always searching for that man. And the final way that I was really able to decentralize men is when I was on a psychic medium call with my mom using a psychic medium, and she told me, Nicole, we have a man picked out for you. God and I have a man picked out for you, but he's not going to arrive for another few years because he's not ready for you and you're not ready for him. So focus on you, focus on building your business, and he will come later on. And that's when I said, you know what? Okay, this is when I started my women's empowerment movement, Find Your Sexy. And this is when I stopped wearing makeup outside all the time. I stopped looking at every single man that was passing me by, hoping to make eye contact, hoping to grab their attention. No, no, no. Now I kept my eyes forward and my eyes on my goal and my eyes on my own life path. And this is where I started to develop my queen bee mindset of me being my best lover, me being my life partner, and any other man who comes into my life, he can be part of my journey, but he's not going to play the central role in my story. That is for me only to do. And the ultimate way that I was able to heal my daddy wounds was finding God. 3 years ago in January, I asked God, who are you? Who is Jesus? I need to know what this whole Jesus thing is about. I need to know if you exist. And that's when God started to speak to me. That is when I started walking with Christ. That is when I started examining Christianity. That is when my own intuitive psychic abilities came online. And I had real, absolute, real experiences with Jesus and with God, with the angels, with my mom, with my grandmother. And I realized that the reason why I didn't have a father in this life was because I needed to discover the Father Himself, the Father that created us all. And I realized that this whole entire time, it was my Heavenly Father who had my back. It wasn't my biological human father who has errors and who has his narcissistic alcoholic ways. No, 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 I didn't need him. The only father that I ever needed and that I will ever need in my life is my Heavenly Father. And I get emotional about this because finding him healed my daddy issues because I realized I don't need a human father. I need my Heavenly Father, and He will send me the right men who will take care of me. So, for any women who have been hurt by the church, I ask you to give the Heavenly Father another chance. And I ask you to read my ebook on the origin of the world from the Nag Hammadi Library, because that gives the true story of the Heavenly Father, of our Heavenly Father who went against Satan, who went against the bad in this world to honor the divine feminine. And he was lifted up into the heavenly realms, given his seventh heaven, given him his own area of the celestial realms. That's when he created Jesus Christ, and that's when he started this crusade of bringing good back on earth, because he went against his own father who was trying to kill the world and kill the universe, and he went against it. He stood up for ourselves, and he stands up for humankind. And there has been a lot of manipulation in the Bible and in a lot of these sources to turn him into the bad one. In the Garden of Eden, where they say that God expulsed Adam and Eve from the garden, that's not true. It was Satan in disguise as God. And so there has been so much manipulation to get people away from God when really he's been the central figure in saving us all. So those are the ways that I was able to heal my daddy issues. And this is a huge tip in how to refather yourself. Getting in touch with our Heavenly Father and the Divine Masculine was such an empowering way for me to take charge in my own life as a single woman on this earth. So let's go into a few other ways of how to refather yourself. If you think about a father figure, what are they? But they're their protectors. They're the providers. They are the action takers. They are the doers. And since I didn't grow up with a father and that masculine source, I have had to figure out how to do that on my own. My mom did not do her, like, she didn't know how to properly um, track her finances. She died with so much debt. And so one of my human lessons is figuring out how to create wealth, how to manage my wealth, and igniting my own divine masculine means becoming my own father, sitting down with myself and saying, Nicole, okay, let's do your finances. Let's do this. Do I have anyone to hold my hand to do it? No, but I have God to help me do it. And so creating a space for myself to gently nurture my inner masculine, ignite my inner masculine has completely changed my life. So sitting down with yourself, not as a judge, but as a gentle masculine force, is going to help you take control of your life as well. Asking yourself, can you please put on your big girl panties and go out and do the things you need to do to protect yourself is going to help you. Refathering yourself is imagining yourself in that masculine energy to not wait for someone else to go do it for you, but for you to do it for yourself. Sitting down and having a coaching session with yourself, imagining yourself as your father. These are all tools that can help you. And another tool and a gift that I want to give you right now is actually an activation from the Lightworker Oracle by Alana Fairchild. There's the number 10, which is the power of the divine masculine, which really ignites my own power to protect myself and to give myself provision. Um, I wanted to read this for you and actually give you this activation as well to help you in the process of healing your daddy issues and in reigniting your own divine masculine energy. So it says here, an empowering energy seeks expression from within. It wishes to free you from confusion, paralysis, and stagnancy. It seeks to stir you into consciously chosen action, greater discipline, and focus. It's time to end the frustration of repeating old patterns. You are ready to break through into a new way of life. Feel inspired, be energized, and focus on your dreams and desires. Take steps to manifest them on the physical plane. Believe your success is inevitable. The divine masculine in you knows when to accept and when to say no to a belief, fear, habit, person, or situation. This divine masculine energy exists within all men and women. It rallies the spirit and responds in times when you may feel drained, taken advantage of, or overwhelmed by too many choices and demands. It cuts through the confusion that comes with choice and priority setting. It refuses to be distracted and keeps you from being dissuaged from your life's purpose. The divine masculine is growing within you now. It is the spiritual light that reveals the truth without filters or veils. Let this energy clear distractions, demands, and drama from your life. Let it help you discern what is best for you and give you the courage to act on it. Let it help you sort out what is true from what is illusion. Let it help you dedicate your time and energy to what has most meaning for you. It will empower you to claim success in what matters most to you. The divine masculine overcomes procrastination. It acts again and again in accordance with the heart. The divine masculine energy empowers each leading light to lovingly assert him or herself in the world. It supports us in standing up for what has meaning to the heart, while lovingly but firmly saying no to what we need to do so. We do not minimize your inner masculine, whether you are a man or a woman. Nourish it. However, if your masculine energy has been trapped in the wounds of your ancestors, he may demand absolute perfection before you feel that you are worthy of love. He may even be violent towards you, perhaps keeping you from saying no to violent relationships or self-harming through overexercising, denying your body good nutrition or rest, or by ignoring your feelings, vulnerabilities, and intuitive wisdom. He may need healing from your inner divine feminine to feel loved, valuable, worthy, needed, and respected. Then the inner misogynist will fall away as a new empowered divine masculine asserts itself within you. Learn to trust this part of yourself. Let him become strong in you. He can be your guide, protector, and defender. Trust when he says no to something or someone. Trust when he says, you are ready for this, and encourages you to act. As you trust in him, you will trust yourself to be visible. Your inner divine masculine will help you shine your light without fear, so others can also find their way through darkness into love. And this is the invocation. So you can say this to yourself, you can say it in your head, or just repeat it silently. I call upon the unconditionally loving divine masculine within me. I respect, honor, and need you. I release past pain and how we related to each other. We are blessed with divine love and healing now. Help me to have the courage and self-belief to live my truths and be open about who I am. I honor your strength and power within me. I know that for every dream the divine has placed in my heart, so too has an equal measure of confidence, intelligence, strength, and capacity has been placed into my soul. I choose to have the courage of my convictions and to journey within to find whatever I need to bring my light fully into the world. May all beings be supported in overcoming pain relating to the masculine principle. May all beings restore, heal, love, and respect him and his divine purpose and the spiritual evolution of humanity. Through my own free will, I invite the unconditional love to assist with this process for all beings. So be it. Healing your inner divine masculine, healing your daddy issues. Refathering yourself is a long process. It is slow, but it can be deliberate. And I encourage everyone, whether you're a man or a woman, to examine how has your relationship with your father affected various aspects of your life. Growing up with a father not only has affected how I relate to men, but also how I relate to money, how I relate to my productivity levels. For a long time, up until now, I have been battling perfectionism. I have wanted to be perfect. I grew up as a straight A student. If I didn't have straight A's, then I couldn't get the scholarships that would allow me to have an education because my mom didn't have money for me to go to a school. And that's actually something that I was angry about her. I'm like, if you would have kept contact with my father and asked for child support, maybe we wouldn't have grown up in such a, I mean, I can't say that we were poor, but we were, lower middle class, but we could have been more comfortable. We could have lived in a nicer place. I could have continued with my gymnastics training if you would have done this. But in the end, I forgave my mom for that because I knew that she was just protecting me and keeping any of his energy away. But that's also kind of part of her wound around the masculine, around accepting abundance. But examining your relationship with both your mother and father are keys for your own healing and your own spiritual liberation. So I hope that this has helped you in some way reflect on your own journey in reparenting yourself, not only refathering yourself, but igniting your own inner mother as well. I now relate to men in some of the most beautiful of ways. I don't go out searching for men, but I let them come to me. And I am very happy to say that I attract beautiful men into my life who want to take care of me, who don't treat me like dirt, but treat me like a queen. And that all is a reflection of how much work I have done in healing my own daddy issues. I want to say happy Father's Day to all of the men out there who are doing their best job in providing and protecting their family. And I want to say happy Father's Day to all of the mothers out there who are doing their best to both playing a role as a mother and as a father. Tune in for Sexy Sunday School's next episode, which I'm not even going to give you a teaser because I have learned not to jinx anything anymore. But this is the beginning of the comeback of Sexy Sunday School's podcast. I'm here in Chicago at a Rainmaker Summit, an entrepreneurial success summit, where I have so many divine masculine men around me who want to help me succeed. And it is a beautiful, healing experience that I really recommend for everyone. So happy Father's Day out there. I'm sorry if the music in the background is annoying to you, but it helps me keep my calm and keep my focus and keep my high vibes up there. But I hope that you enjoyed it as well. I love all of you guys. Make sure to follow me not only on Spotify, on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok. I am going through a big rebrand as I enter a new beautiful phase in my life. Did you guys take a look at my she ties that I've been working on? This is my Jesus one. If anyone has any ties that they are not using anymore, I would love to repurpose them and turn them into empowerment for women. So just shoot me a message on Instagram and I will give you an address to send it to, because I'm not going to send you guys my actual address, but I will be creating a P.O. box because I will be accepting lots of abundance of ties into my life to support this new journey of creating my own merchandise. But I will give you one little hint on a project that I am working on, and it is a campaign called Make America Sexy Again. You guys probably know throughout the past 2 years that I've been back in America, I have been sexually shamed and shunned in lots of communities around here. And instead of all these women being jealous of my sexiness, they just need to learn how to be sexy and empowered too. So, make America sexy again, guys. Happy Father's Day. I love you, and I'll see you guys next time.